The realm is the civilized heart of creation. Even now, at the opening of the Age of Sorrows, the Blessed Isle's poorest citizens still have a higher standard of living than anyone else in the world. While the Isle lost nearly half of its population during the Great Contagion, it retained much of the base of the infrastructure of the First Age, and suffered fewer of the ravages of the fair folk than other parts of creation did. Although many of its cities fell, the roads and highways of the First Age survived, as did many of the engineering projects of that ancient time. Dams, levees, polders, bridges, canals, aqueducts, manufactories, farming terraces, signal towers, tunneling, and harbours of the Shogunate Age are still in use. Using the foundation provided by this infrastructure, the dynastic dragon-blooded erected their own manses and refounded cities. Therefore, the realm is a vital mixture of the very new and the very old, and its power in world affairs rises as much from its production and transport capabilities as it does from the dragon-blooded's loyalty. Most of the Blessed Isle manages to harvest 5 cycles of crops per year, thanks to the deep magic woven into the land and the enormous fertility that surrounds the elemental pole of Earth. There is always food on every table for every meal, even if the substance of that meal is meager. Rice is a staple crop of the Scarlet Empire, both because it is easy to produce and because it is labor-intensive to grow. The peasantry of the realm is kept constantly occupied in growing its food, which gives little time to consider revolt or rebellion. Millet, barley, wheat, and oats provide much of the other food for the realm, while flax, cotton, and hemp serve as the major fiber crops. Sesame oil is a major ingredient in peasant cooking, and vegetables ranging from lettuce to peppers round out the peasant diet. The tables of well-off city dwellers serve fish and chicken, as well as orchard fruits and nuts, such as oranges, almonds, and cashews. Olive oil replaces sesame oil in richer households, and beef replaces fish and chicken. Mammoth meat is particularly popular at parties. Much of the realm's manufactories are cotton industries, a village or group of villages working together to make flax into linen thread, and thread into cloth, for instance. The realm's so-called cottager ceramics, of simple line and coloured in delicate blues, reds, or greens, is highly valued in the threshold. Blessed Isle cotton and linen, with high thread counts, is suitable for wear for the highest nobility elsewhere. The simplicity of these products is part of their appeal. The status suggested by plain clothes made in the realm is greater than the status suggested by threshold silks or armours. The more high-class an industry is perceived to be, the more likely that there are formal manufactories. Silk production, in particular, is most often confined to urban areas, though the silkworms come from the countryside. Weapons and armour factories are also tightly controlled by the government, and usually exist in close proximity to mines where the raw material is gathered. Social class. Among mortal humans there are 5 social ranks. The dragon-blooded have numerous nuances and graduations among themselves that contrast a dynast of a major line from a dynast of a minor line, and that divide the dynasts from outcasts. Mortals in the realm play these games of rank on a far more limited scale, as their mayfly lives permit. Patricians. At the top of the social ladder are the various patrician clans. Patrician families fill most of the offices too menial for the dragonbloods in the ministries. Senior patricians become prefects and assistant sub-ministers in the Thousand Scales. They rarely rise higher in the legions than winglord, and while there are a number of patrician captains in the navy, there are few human commodores, fleet captains, or admirals. Patricians are still considered noble in the realm because they are descendants of the Exalts and the Scarlet Dynasty. Some of them are the children of outcast Exalts, rewarded for their parents' exceptional service with patrician rank, Perhaps one patrician child out of 30,000 exalts is then adopted by one of the great houses of the dynasty in exchange for favors, jade, or offers of alliance. Patrician families are often allied with one or another great house, and usually remain so for dozens of generations at a time. Their estates are never as large as those of great houses, but they do amass large incomes and are usually as prominent in their prefectures as the dragon-blooded are in creation as a whole. Citizens. Below the patricians are the citizens. This is a broad class of artists and artisans, merchants and traders, sailors and carters, and low-level bureaucrats and clerks. Most of the citizens live in the realm's cities and large towns, and their wealth is sufficient to pay bills and live reasonable lives. Citizens form the connective tissue between the peasantry and the patricians, transforming the works and produce of peasant factories and farm into things which the patricians can delight. Barely visible to the Dragonbloods, the realm's citizenry nonetheless is the recruiting tool for the legions, the navy, the Immaculate Order, and the ministries. Peasantry. Supporting the patricians, the citizens, and even the mighty Dragonbloods are the peasants of the realm, outnumbering all other classes by tens of thousands to one. The peasantry works the land and fishes the seas, collecting the food that supports the vast interlinked society of the realm. Since the Empress took power, almost 30 generations of peasants have lived and died, and since the usurpation, almost 100 generations have passed. The peasants of the realm have never known any other reality besides the rule of the dragon-blooded. The dragon-blooded regard the peasantry with a degree of paternal care, but truly, the peasantry of the Blessed Isle lives in a state of enforced helplessness, forbidden to own weapons of any sort, schooled in only a limited version of the Immaculate Philosophy, and dwelling in a state of near serfdom. The realm's peasants tend their villages and fields with hardly any hope of betterment in this life. A farmer may plant an olive grove to improve the lot of her granddaughter, and a fisherman may save jade script to let his son buy a new boat. It has to be enough to provide for the next generation, because there is little else for which to hope in this one. Slaves. The realm purchases huge numbers of slaves and expects tens of thousands of additional bodies as part of annual tribute from many satrapies. Nonetheless, ownership of slaves is illegal in the realm. Mortals may not own them, and all slaves officially belong to the realm, the Empress, or the houses of the dynasty. Dragonbloods may have long-term use of individual slaves, and occasionally whole work gangs. Individuals or small teams can also be loaned or gifted to patrician houses for private projects. This structure is supposed to protect them from abuse by dangerously ignorant peasant owners. But it is also intended to prevent a large-scale slave rebellion from breaking out on the Blessed Isle. By keeping the slaves in tightly limited work gangs with suitably trained overseers, the realm keeps the slave population from communicating with intent to win its freedom. Slaves are generally sorted into one of three categories upon enslavement. The largest groups are the work gangs. Gangs of up to 10,000 slaves labor on various civil works projects, such as stone quarrying, road repair, land reclamation, or harbor dredging. The realm tries to ensure a ratio of at least one overseer to every 25 slaves in the realm, and one overseer to every 10 slaves in the threshold, to discourage rebellions. Every prefecture in the realm has a slave gang to look after the realm's infrastructure, which the prefect can allocate to various projects as needed. In addition, various ministries have slave gangs of their own, and some legions on garrison duty have slave teams to assist in various projects. The lives of the workhorse slaves are short and harsh. Life expectancy in the mines or one of the road crews averages only 2 years, and death is more common than any other sort of punishment, as the realm feels that one troublesome but unskilled slave is easily replaced. Work gang slaves are usually purchased in lots of 1,000 bodies. The second category is formed of specialty slaves of various sorts, often captured in war or sold into slavery to pay debts. These slaves have various skills from their earlier lives. Some may be literate or financially savvy, others are trained warriors, and still others are skilled engineers, artists, or artisans. Dancers, musicians, sex toys, and certain kinds of artisans command high prices and rarely leave their owners. Usually purchased singly or in small groups, depending on their knowledge and abilities, slaves in this category are usually able to work their way into their owner's good graces over a period of years and survive to old age. The third category of slaves are the domestic slaves, who assist in one of the households of the great houses. Purchased in lots of 10 to 100, household slaves act as cooks, cleaners, launderers, gardeners, and ordinary servants in the dragon-blooded and patrician households. Many of them are encircled in various ways to prevent them from revealing their owner's secrets, and all of them are demonstrably broken in some way as proof that they are no threat to anyone in their owner's household. The disenfranchised. Even below the slaves in the realm's social structure are the disenfranchised. The realm's law rarely distinguishes between one mortal and her neighbors, particularly for any human below patrician rank. When a villager is discovered breaking one of the realm's laws, the magistrate or prefect, or their archons or governors, may declare every resident of that village disenfranchised. The affected peasants or citizens are turned out of their homes and are exiled from their prefecture. They can be abused or killed with impunity, and they may not take up residence in a new location until they have paid the residency pledge fee of 4 koku. Few can pay this enormous sum, and so many disenfranchised are forced to wander place to place, looking for somewhere with a shortage of workers where the fee might be waived. At present, there are many more disenfranchised on the roads of the realm than in times past. Numerous villages, and sometimes even whole towns, have been uprooted to make space for the great houses and their patrician allies to expand their estates or to create no-man's land regions between rival houses. This state of affairs is yet another sign of the disintegrating fabric of the realm's society.